Hey, Mike. We're
Hey
live
Jay,
on LinkedIn and YouTube and stuff. Hey,
and stuff.
and stuff. I just got a news alert that Rich Strike, the surprise 80 to 1 horse that I did not bet on, that
Yeah,
won the Kentucky Derby, is not going to race in the Preakness.
why?
I don't know. It just came up as an alert. I'm sure there's a reason. I could read it to everybody, but they can go read it themselves. I just want you to know that I think that makes it a one trick pony.
It does. I wonder if they gave it horse dewormer and it got sick.
Oh. Hmm. Hmm. All right,
All right.
let's talk about cybersecurity.
Okay.
Okay, so hey, there is security awareness training this Friday. Mike won't be there. Fred's going to do it, so it'll be cohesive this time.
Right.
Uh,
Will be someone yelling at you.
Fred doesn't yell at you. Fred is nicer than Mike.
I see.
And then remember, but I'll be there, so it'll be funny. And remember that you can always sign up for Mike's Daily Blast on our website, where he sends out an email every morning, and then you know stuff. Speaking of knowing stuff, we're going to do another panel and conversation because that alert that came out yesterday from CISA. It's a warning to managed service providers and their customers. And we are a managed service provider. A goodly number of our partner companies are managed service providers, and so we'll give our opinions about this is a warning and what companies should do about it. Mike, quick thoughts on that one?
So quick thoughts. I scratched out a little blog yesterday, and there's some quick thoughts in there, and I'm gonna, you know, be a little more contemplative about this over the weekend. Be ready for Monday, but I think there are implications that go beyond just make sure you have these controls in place, right? Which is a lot of what they say. You're being targeted, so you need to do these things, right? Well, the expectation will be going forward, as we've been saying over and over, is that you must have security papers to show in order to continue doing business. Not because you're regulated, but because you want to keep getting new customers. This is going to continue this push towards market-based security that's been developing over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. So that's my thought there.
Yeah, and just a reminder to folks, if you want to see Mike's blog, just go to our website, criticalinsight.com, click on resources, and it'll show up on the right there. Um,
And it's
and
short.
and then and it Mike, it's funny. Mike says it's short. I don't know that it's that short, but when Mike writes long, it's long. So
Okay.
it's maybe short. So there's a lot more to talk about on that topic. We'll hold for the panel. That's on Monday. It'll be on the event section of our website later today because we just decided to do it. Or, of course, you can email me, jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll make sure you get a registration link. All right, Mike, what happened this week, other than that? Can you give people a rundown on the big stories? Always a busy news week.
Yeah, always a busy news week, and it's hard to pick, because I do an hour a night putting the news blast together, and I mean we could do nothing but go through headlines. Maybe we'll change this up a little next week or something. But stuff that caught my eye was the SEC keeps showing up with new regulatory pronouncements. And now, and this was expected, the Internet Security Alliance, which is pretty influential, is pushing back on that. Given the near daily news on what the SEC is telling the financial sector, the latest being that public companies have to file a Form 8K to tell their shareholders of a cyber incident within 4 days. Right? A lot of companies are not going to take kindly to that. Um, what else? The U.S. has formally blamed Russia for the Viasat attack that took down a lot of communication infrastructure in Ukraine, plus a bunch of collateral damage to other countries. Speaking of countries, Costa Rica continues to be impacted by what sounds like a nationwide ransomware attack against the country. Can't collect taxes, can't pay employees, services are not happening. It's bad. Did you
Oh,
read that?
yeah, I did. And didn't that article say the gang that did this is practicing on Costa Rica? And like creating anxiety then for other countries, like, oh, is this us next, right?
I don't think anybody needs help dialing up anxiety right now, and that just may be rhetoric. I think that the gang that did this didn't actually plan for this much disruption. I don't think. We'll find out as this develops. But speaking of gangs, as a matter of fact, our evil is back. Reports of their demise seem to have been premature. Um, it is again being reported that North Korea uses the money stolen from cryptocurrency exchanges and banks that they basically cyber rob to fund their missile programs. There's now malware you can buy for $5.
Ooh, just $5. Great. My kids
Yeah,
can buy it.
that's right. We've lowered the bar all the way down to the seventh graders. A university had to shutter its doors because a ransomware attack was the very last financial hit they could take after the enrollment dropped from COVID.
That's just
That happened.
infuriating.
They're out of business.
Infuriating.
It is. It is. It is.
I mean, something like 75% of small and medium businesses won't recover from a ransomware attack, and they'll just go out of business. Like, this is infuriating. I mean, that was the number that was in the blast, right? 75%.
Yeah, 7 3/4. Yeah.
And wasn't this one of the historically black colleges?
I don't think it was one of the HBCUs. I think it was a predominantly black university, but but
Uh,
but still, I mean, it's infuriating. Exactly. I mean, people are pretty mad right now about all of this.
it is. I mean, in this day and age, to shut down a university when we need more education, not less, like,
Yeah,
infuriating.
yeah. Just quick sidebar. I just was speaking with the director of the cyber programs at Nova University in Florida. He said, we have tons of students. What we're having problems with is instructors because you can't hire somebody to go teach at a university when they can make, 5 times the salary in the private sector. And it's really hard. These centers of academic excellence schools are poaching faculty from one another. So, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
bad.
but yeah, I mean, sure, but that's always been true. I mean, you can go make more money as a partner at a law firm than a law professor. That's why there's a professor at USC, your alma mater,
Hmm.
medical professor who makes $1 million, right? I mean,
Well,
yeah.
okay, but since you brought up statistics, there's one I want to bring up. There's a good piece on the health sector, and it says there is a lot of access to those networks being sold on the dark web. And here's the interesting part: more than half of these, okay, the access advertised is for compromised VPN and RDP access. Okay, compromised Citrix appliances are 23%, and the rest are Fortinet, Pulse Secure, and something called RD Web that I've never heard of. Right, so it's an open
Great.
door. You can buy access and walk right into a hospital, lay the bomb, light the fuse. It's awful.
I mean, I guess the takeaway there is that healthcare is bad at patching vulnerabilities in those products and good at giving up passwords.
Probably both. Okay. Also, this week, two compromises that may mean more than just a couple of companies being extorted. One is Agco, which is a farm machinery manufacturer. Remember that CISA warned that we could expect attacks against the food and ag
Yeah,
sector,
I
right?
do
Looks like
remember
they
that.
were right, right? Or they already knew about this when the warning
Hmm.
went out. I don't know. But the
Would
other
it be
is
wrong to say I hate when CISA is right?
no. We
Mhm.
like it when they're right,
Mm.
especially if we can use that as guidance.
Yeah, it's fair.
Ours, right? But the other is a ransomware attack against a company called Top Aces, which is a company that provides fighter jets for training purposes. Okay, think through that one.
That's interesting. Um, Although I did read good reviews of Top Gun. Two, new one. Anyway. But back to InfoSec. Mike, this feels like it confirms, reinforces what you've been saying about surgical attacks against companies that look like that look like ransomware on the face of it, but of a much more strategic value than just extortion of funds. One of those will strain the food supply. The other slows down the process of training Ukrainian pilots to fly aircraft, or, maybe there's some fear of U.S. pilots flying against Russia. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it confirms all that. Maybe it's just, what's going on in my head.
Mm,
But no, no. All right, let's talk about surveillance. I keep
mm,
seeing news about how we're being tracked on our phone apps, and anyone can buy the data, which I
mhm.
don't like.
Yeah, and there was the stories on this are starting to come with greater frequency.
Hmm.
Motherboard did a story on how to buy phone location data and use that to tell who visits Planned Parenthood. Okay. In today's United States, that is a dangerous capability. Um, there's also a company that sells location information for connected cars, right? Your cars are always talking, right? Here's where I am, which is a super good reason to drive a 1965 El Camino, which is
Yeah,
my
and
first car, and I wish I had it back.
by the way, like, I don't wherever you fall on the abortion debate, the idea of being tracked to your doctor visits,
Yeah.
whatever your doctor visits are for, is very unsettling.
Ooh, could we
Um,
call that a HIPAA violation?
I don't know, like, can you?
Well, I don't know. The
Um,
people that buy the data aren't covered entities, so probably not.
hmm. Hey, but the stories you mentioned, since they came out, the car location company did say they were stopping selling the data. They would stop selling the data, and I think that's true also for the one selling the phone location data, right? So we can rest easy, right?
Well, that may be true, but there are more companies than just the ones that got called out, right?
Hmm.
I also think you may be conflating this with Clearview AI, which has agreed to not sell its facial recognition database that they built by scraping the internet for pictures of all of us. They will continue to sell their algorithm, but not the faces themselves. So that actually seems pretty weak to me. But this is a place for regulation. Market forces are not going to take care of this problem. Also, this is interesting. In the EU, they're working on legislation to require online companies, okay, so think email, social media, right, to respond to detection orders and cough up unencrypted data on messaging, attachments, etc. And the article calls it a war on end-to-end encryption, which keeps popping up in this country. We don't seem to, be able to argue ourselves into any kind of position on this. But the EU has taken this on.
I mean, the underlying thing here is trying to address child trafficking and abuse, right?
That is exactly right. Right. Great intent, but with outcomes that are unintended. Um, so here's example of unintended outcomes for unrestrained surveillance, right? ICE, the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, right? They have been completely unrestrained in obtaining commercial tracking data, exactly the stuff we were just talking about, without warrants, and they're already capable of tracking just about anyone in the United States. Now, that is very unlike my experience in government, where the big no no was access to details on US persons, right? That's the way it's phrased in government. And regardless of what you think of the job they do, this ain't right. And this can go very badly depending on what administration is in charge of the government. This agency needs some guardrails,
And I mean, hugely political, of course, and
of
makes it
course.
unlikely that Congress would take action given the nexus to immigration.
Yep, I agree. All right, so one more factoid, and we'll leave this alone for a while. Do you remember the story on Pegasus, the tool from the NSO group that's sold to governments and ends up being used to surveil, dissidents, journalists, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big story that has a lot of uh, companies, New York Times, NBC, CBS, pretty concerned.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that the person that did, I didn't know this, the person that did the research and broke the story is Dana Priest. So Dana is Washington Post emeritus. She is the John S. and James L. Knight Chair in Public Affairs Journalism at the University of Maryland, and a friend of mine that I've helped on some stories, but not that one. Dana just received the George Polk Award in technology reporting for that story on Pegasus. So
Wow, it's really
congratulations
cool.
to Dan. Yeah, and we need more like that.
Yeah,
That's what we need. Pull the covers back.
yeah. Well done, Dana, and Dana's editors.
Mhm.
um, it's not just one person.
I know.
All right. We're out of time. But everybody looks forward to the second to last thing you do which is threats and vulnerabilities, and then we'll.
Okay. All right.
Oh wait. So you're not going to do threats and
Well,
vulnerabilities?
we don't have very much time, so I'll just
I know
just
you.
one thing: patch
What do you
your
got?
F5 equipment. All right, that's the big one right now.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And do you have a kicker, which is the thing that you do that makes everybody laugh at the end, and you fail at it?
Well, it's always for me. It's not funny. It's like the karmic irony stories, right? So it seems that a Nigerian fraudster that is accused of stealing more than 800,000 sets of credentials from 28,000 victims, which doesn't make sense to me. How many passwords does this person have? Um, but this is the good part: inadvertently infected his own machine with his own malware, which led to his identity being exposed. So he's now going to prison, and the wound is completely self inflicted.
Okay, that's good.
That
That's
is,
good. Well done.
it's not funny though, it's ironic.
No, but that's good. That
Justice.
yep. You did it right that time. Well done, Mike.
Oh, one in a row.
One in a row. All right,
Okay.
everybody. Remember security awareness training on Friday, that urgent panel webinar on
Monday.
Monday. Read Mike's blog on our website, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay, doke.